So we're going to continue with halachas of Netilas Yodayim that we started already a couple of days ago. Heilige Netilas Yodayim. Okay, Penny, you with me? Gewaltige halachas, meilig, yeah? It's going to warm you up. The halachas are going to warm you up. It's going to be gewaldig. Okay, Zevi, yeah? You with us? It's ticking? Yeah. Okay. So, where were we? So I want to go through one last sugya before we finish, and that is the sugya of two different ideas actually. The first one is just halachas of when a person requires to re-wash his hands, redo Netilas Yodayim, even though he did Netilas Yodayim in the beginning of the Suda, and he has to redo Netilas Yodayim in the following situations. So the Shulchan Aruch brings in Kuf Samach Dalet Sibes, and in the middle of a Suda, bang smack in the middle of the Suda, if a person, the example of the Shulchan Aruch is this, and we'll give many more examples as well, is if a person touches a mokoim on his guf that is normally covered. So for example, you stick your hand in your back, but obviously touching your skin, scratching your back, scratching the actual skin of your back, right? Says the Shulchan Aruch, then you require Netilas Yodayim. Shulchan Aruch, by the way, says with the bracha. The same would be, says the example of Shulchan Aruch, if you scratch your hair in the middle of a meal. Now these are very common things that people do in the middle of the meal, that they scratch their hair or put their hand inside their shirt and they scratch their back. Now if they do that, the Shulchan Aruch paskins that you have to go wash with nice geschmack and refreshing nice water and go along and make a bracha al Netilas Yodayim again. Because even though you're in the middle of the Suda and even though you washed already, you have to make that again. And the shaila is what's pshat. So first of all, we're going to talk about it. What's the halacha of this, the makor of this shaila, by the way, is in Tshuvas HaRashba, Tshuvas HaRamban. And the shaila is why, I understand, I washed already, my hands are tahor, my hands are clean. What's the problem? So you want to say maybe it's not so clean because it's a bit sweaty on the back. All right, I hear. But if one of the main reasons that we said why you washed the Netilas Yodayim was for Levi, was to make sure that when Levi goes to Beis HaMikdash later on today, he's going to be rogel to wash and to be tahor when it comes to the Karbonis and Ala Kedusha and Zevi and all the Gavaldik Yidden over here. Pinny, who else do we have over here? There's so many Kahanim, it's Gavaldik. I missed anybody? Did I miss anybody out? No, I said Zevi. I said him. No, I'm in the Beis Medrash right now. There's many Kahanim around the world. I'm not going to mention them right now, right? We'll be here for, I know that. Yeah, I understand, but I'm talking to the ones who are. Okay. He's a Levi, that's true. He'll be singing for us. He's going to be singing for us. It's going to be Gavaldi. We're looking forward to the singing. All right, let's go. So what's pshat? Levi, what's pshat? Why in the middle of a Suda do I have to rewash if I washed already? Right? That's the kasha. So the answer is like this, a very interesting thing. The Levush, Shimon, are you with me? The Levush explains pshat like this. The Levush explains that when a person touches a mokaim that is dirty, that is sweaty, like for example scratching his hair or touching his back, similar to that, Zug the Lashon of the Levush, it's mevatel and mafsik, the original netila. So you've been mevatel the original netila, you've had a hefsek of an interruption, mimela you require a brand new netila. Zug the poiskim. What happens, says the Mishnah Berurah, for example, if you touch your hair, or just lightly go over your hair without scratching it, says the Mishnah Berurah, in that case you do not have to wash a brand new Netilas Yodayim. The poskim say, in fact, it's brought down in the Ishal Avam, the Heilige Buchacha, that if a person blows his nose, right, and I'm just going to say this the way it is, right? It's Beis Medrash, and his hands become wet, right? Maybe in Yovin, it's a whole matzav over there. The tissue isn't thick enough; it tears, whatever, and his fingers become wet, right? So, Zug the Heilige Ishal Avram, you have to do Netilas Yodayim again. In that case, if you blow your nose and your fingers become wet in the middle of a Suda, what if you have a shluf in the middle of a meal, right? Tzvei Negeya. Right? For example, in the middle of a Suda, you go on the couch and you lie down for a few minutes. We've had bochum that do that many, many times, on the table, on the couch, many times there. Seems to be the same people every single. So what happens in the middle of a meal? So you know this already, right? What happens? The Rebbe wakes you up, you go to the sink, and you wash the Netilas Yodayim again, right? Because you slept in the middle of a meal. If you go to the bathroom, right? If you go to the bathroom, We'll just leave it like that, okay? If you go to the bathroom. Whoa. In the middle of a Suda, you have to wash Netilas Yodayim. If you change the diaper, like a good husband, in the middle of the Suda, then you go along and you have to wash Netilas Yodayim. In that case, very good. Frick Daniel, do you have to make a bracha? All of the cases that we just gave, do you have to make a bracha? So although there are many, many Gedolei Poskim that say, Raf, are you with me? Davey, yeah? I don't need to miss this. Even though there are many Gedolei Poskim that say you have to make a bracha in all of the cases that we just said, right? That's the Maimon Malcha, the Bat Yehuda, the Big Diesh, the Beis Meah, Hamed Moshe and others. Lemaisa, the Be'alocha says like this, and Aruch HaShulchan passing is this way, that he says, if you just touched a place that's normally covered, you don't have to make a bracha, but you just have to wash. But if you actually went to the bathroom and Gedolim, or, for example, you changed the diaper and the baby's stuff went on your fingers, you touched it, then an achanami you have to make a brand new bracha when you wash. But avada you have to wash, but in many cases you won't have to make a bracha. The Shulchan Aruch Harav, the Balatanya holds that you never make a bracha when you wash your hands again in that times, unless mamish were mafsik, the whole sudi made a huge interruption, that's something else. But in those cases you generally don't have to make a new bracha, but wash again you do. Everyone's masking you have to wash. The shayla is if you have to make a new bracha. So that is sugya number one that I wanted to get to today. Once again, you should eat kazayas after bread. Thanks, Shkoyah, for mentioning that. You don't have to, but you should eat bread afterwards as well. It should be a hemshach of the suda. A kazayas. Yeah. No, exactly the same. Exactly the same as you wash your bed, yeah. Okay. You should still wash because you be'em sal suda. You know, the Mishnah Berurah says, I mentioned this before, the Mishnah Berurah says an amazing thing. Mishnah Berurah says, even if, for example, you have a piece of bread in your mouth, b'shas ma'isa, when you're scratching your back, Mishnah Berurah Paskin says also to swallow the bread. So you got a piece of challah in your mouth, you're chewing it, you scratch your back, you scratch your head, Mishnah Berurah Paskin says also to swallow it until you go wash again. It's into some, because the ma'isa, it's in my mouth already. Let's go back to Abba Yisai. Right, one last sugya of this thing, and then we have to end with the Gavaldik Gemeshras. What? This I don't know. This is what the Chazon said at the beginning. Many people.
The water bill's going to be really high.
The water bill's going to be high. Again, we spoke about this. Don't be machman. Yenum's cheshbon. Today's the Yud side of the Heilige Salanta Rebbe. The Heilige Salanta Rebbe. And there are many stories about him, how he was very, we have to say stories about the Heilige Salanta Rebbe. And there are many stories how he was very makel in doing many things that Klal Yisrael do, because I don't really machman, Yenam's cheshbon. Whether it was Zmiris, whether, famous stories about Reb Salanta. Don't be machman, Yenam's cheshbon. Let's go back to Abba Yisai. Last sugya of the Netilas Yodayim is the sugya of chatzitza. Chatzitza means an interruption, a separation between your hand and the water, right? Like we know, there's halachas of chatzitza when it comes to tevilas kelim. When you toivel a keli, cannot have any stickers on it or anything similar to that. We also know there's a halacha of chatzitza by tefillin. When you put on your tefillin, you have to make sure there's no chatzitza there. We've spoken about that once before, right? There are many different shilas of chatzitza. One of the shilas of chatzitza is in Netilas Yodayim over here. The Gemara in Chulin Kuvav on the base brings down called Dovish Choitzis Betfila, Choitzis Benetilas Yodayim. First a Gemara that anything that's a chatzitza when you toivel something, whether it's yourself or whether it's a keli, would also apply by Netilas Yodayim. Says the Mishnah Berurah Halacha L'Maisa in the beginning of Simon Kuv Samach Aleph, even though, and he's quoting the Gemara in Chulin, Netilas Yodayim for bread is a derabanan, and tevila can often be a da'oraisa, right? Even when you toivel a metal kli, that's a da'oraisa. Al Kaponim. So what? Zug the Mishnah Berurah, they were tikkun ke'ein da'oraisa masakin, and therefore the halacha is that you have to be careful in everything else. And that's the psak l'maisa of the Mishnah Berurah, that you should be careful that there's no chatzitza on your hand, b'shas maisa, of washing. In that case, the Mishnah Berurah even says that it's right to check your hands out, to make sure that there's no leftovers, for example, from the Band-Aid that you took off yesterday, and it's got the stickiness or something similar to that. So the Mishnah Berurah, it's roy, it's proper, it's good to look at your hands, to make sure before you wash that they are Netilas Yodayim-able. Okay? Get that? Netilas Yodayim-able. Right? New word. Well, touching your hair when you put on tefillin? If touching is okay, right? And putting on the shalrosh, in a touching way is fine, but to start scratching and at the same time you have a scratch, you have a problem with the bracha then. You have a problem with it's not a chatzitza, you have a problem with the bracha then. How you can make a bracha? Because you have to Netilas Yodayim. So you have to be careful of that. Now, I'm not going to go into all the sugyas of what exactly is a chatzitza, rubai hamakbid, miyat hamakbid, there were goyza miyat hamakbid, otu roiva makbid. I'm not going to go into the whole sugya. Many of us are familiar with that. I just want to go through some of the common examples that could be negeya. Number one, a nail. Is a nail a chatzitza or not? So the halacha is, and this is brought down already from the Oizarua, that a nail is never a chatzitza simply because it's part of your guf, it's a chelik of your body, and therefore it's not considered to be a chatzitza. The other famous Sefer Hasidim brings down that a person shouldn't have too long of a nails because it could have dirt under there. And there's famous stories of people that appeared to other people in dreams when they looked green, and they said, "Mei chatesa, why are you green?" They said, "Because we had dirt under our nails, and when we washed, there was a chatzitza." And we didn't wash the Netilas Yodayim, we ate bread betuma, v'chole. Sefer Hasidim brings down all these sorts of stories, kiyadua, many of them in Hilchos Netilas Yodayim. But al kaponu, if there's dirt under your nail and you're makbid on that dirt, that means it's if you're going to a chasna, if you're going to meet someone, there's a disgusting piece of dirt under there, then you're going to clean it, then you're makbid, then for sure you should get rid of that. If it's a small amount that you're not makbid on, no one cleans their nails every part of the day to make sure they look clean, so then generally that would be okay in that case. There is a shaila. The Shach brings this in Yeridea. If a person is about to cut his nails, right? That means that if a person is about to cut his nails, it's ki'ilu, it's cut already. The whole reason why a nail is not a chatzitza is because it's a chelik of your body. But if you're planning on cutting it, could mean that it's already cut. And if it's cut, it's a chatzitza. So it could be it's a shaila that and therefore the Shach in Yeridea brings it, and therefore it could be if you're planning on cutting it, it could be a what? I'm going upstairs to cut it right now, but I'm just going to eat lunch. Whatever, something along those lines. Yeah?
You get upstairs and you don't do it, so I don't have to actually put it on.
Okay, what if, for example, here's a common example. Let's say, for example, your nail is coming off, it's peeled off, right? Is it a chatzitza for Netilas Yodayim? So halacha is if the roiv of it is off, then once roiv is off, it's no longer yonik from the body, it's not getting nourishment from the body, and therefore it could be a chatzitza. So it could be if your nail is hanging off, even a small amount, then that could be problematic in that case. Same thing, by the way, with skin pieces. Skin pieces, what? Yeah, for sure if you're going to cut it off. If skin pieces, if you're not makpeh, they're small, Shabbos is a different shayla. If the halacha is like this, the Shulchan Aruch at the end of Submission Mem, that if roiv of it is off and it's giving you pain, because every time it goes against the sleeve or whatever, it's pain, so then you're allowed to take it off with a shinoi. Right, you can take it off with the shina. Only if it's roiv off and it's giving you tsar and you take it off with the shina. That's Hilchos Shabbos. But al kaponim, when it comes to skin pieces, you have to be makbid to take off all the skin pieces that are falling off. If you're not makbid on it generally, then you don't have to be makbid at the gabe Netilas Yodayim. In that case, the same is true if you have paint or if you have ink and all of these things. We're talking about mamoshas. If you've got actual mamoshas on your fingers, all of these things, if they're actual mamoshas and you would normally be makbid on them, no one's going to a chasna with paint on his fingers, so then yes, it will be a chatzitza when it comes to Netilas Yodayim, and then a person should be careful to make sure to get rid of it, again, if he is makbid on it. A band-aid, if you actually have a band-aid on.
What happens if you wash it? While you wash it, then it washes off?
It comes off, the mamosha comes off.
So is the washing
No, not really. The first time, the second time, more the reverse, not more reverse. Okay, now moving on, Rabbi Isai. Moving on. Band-aids. The Gemara talks about that. So if he's not makbid on it, if he's the derech of that person not to be makbid, it could be it's okay. Let's just finish off. A band-aid, for example, that a person is wearing and he's got the band-aid on, is he allowed to wash the Netilas Yodayim with the band-aid on? So the general halacha is it depends. If you need the band-aid, it's not a chatzitza. Why? Because if you need it, we're not choishish that be'emsa suda, in the middle of the meal, a person's going to come and take it off and touch the bread with hands that were never washed. And therefore, if your hand requires the band-aid because there's a cut there, whatever, and therefore I need it on, then it's not a chatzitza. Whereas if it's just extra and it's on stum, right, because it's healed already, but I still got it on, or got it on for protection purposes, then no, then it will be a chatzitza. pizza and you're going to have to take it off, or you're going to have to figure out what to do in that case. Let me just end Rabbi Sai with one last Gavaldig Azach. There's a Motika Medrash. The Medrash brings down, this is the Medrash Rabbah in Parshas Balak. Look this up, it's Gavaldig. The Medrash Rabbah brings down that there was a time of Gzeira of Klal Yisrael where people were not able to openly express their Yiddishkeit and being Jewish, and people were, displaying it in a very private, secretive manner. So the Medrash Rabbah brings down that there was a Yid who owned a restaurant. Now, obviously, he couldn't openly display that he was a Yid. He was a Yid and he opened the restaurant. And the way that he would basically ensure that he would give kosher food to a Yid, or non-kosher food, which was obviously cheaper, to a Goy, was if they did Netilas Yodayim. If you saw a Yid coming along, Medrash Rabbah brings this. If you saw a Yid washing, oh, he's a Yid. Obviously, he's a Yid. They're washing before bread. With Mele, he's fixed to serve him kosher food. Whereas, if he wasn't washing Bechlal, then obviously he was a Goy, and he used to give him Chazah. Zuk the Medrash, there was a Yid that walked in, that wasn't so makpid on Netilas Yodayim. He walks in, he doesn't wash his hands, the innkeeper gives him Chazah. He notices at some point during the Suda that his friends who are also Jewish got different food to him. He figured it out. He figured what's going on. He went over to the innkeeper. He went over to the guy who owned the restaurant. He said, "What's going on over here? What do you serve me?" He said, "What do you mean? I gave you chazah. Like, what's wrong? Everything's okay?" And he started saying, "What? I'm Jewish. What?" So he said, "I didn't know because you didn't wash the Netilas Yodayim." Mefurish Medrash, Mekan Shonu Chachomim, says the Medrash that a person that's not makbid on the Netilas Yodayim will be fed, can be fed all sorts of treifa zachen, and therefore says the Medrash, a sgula, a shmira, to make sure that a person eats what he's meant to be eating is by being careful, being medaktik, not only to wash, but to wash in the correct manner, or to re-wash when he needs to do that. Have a wonderful day.